Hey everyone, Rushlock here, and as always, hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the video for all your latest news and updates for EVE Online. So here we've got EVE Aganda post, FanFest and COVID, posted by Rixx Javix. Let's dive right into this. I saw the headline when Rixx previewed it before. Couldn't wait. Let's leave the picture on the screen so we have a reference to the names here. From left to right, back row, Lufix, Watson Crick, Corvus Onzo, Rixx Javix. Front row, Katya Say, EQ, and Thane. Michael Saint Soul is missing since no one saw him at all on Thursday, and Insidious Sainthood was busy volunteering. But otherwise, this is our small gang. Overall, a band apart had 18 people at FanFest 2022, which is the most we've ever had. We even made the list this year. Normally, it doesn't take me nearly a week to write about a FanFest, so you know something had to go wrong. You may have already heard, but I managed to bring COVID home with me. Despite testing negative on Saturday and being allowed to fly back to the States, it really hit me first thing Monday morning. Even before the test, I knew I had it. At last count, over 50 FanFest attendees caught COVID, and I think those numbers are probably very conservative. I know a few more people who were just recently tested positive. Luckily, my own case has been pretty mild so far, and I am already feeling much, much better. And in other good news, my wife continues to test negative, so that is, to be honest, even better news. A bunch of our friends got stuck in Iceland until they can get a negative test. So hopefully that happens soon and everyone can go back to normal life again. All I really care about now is that everyone recovers and gets back to being healthy again. Despite COVID, it was great to be back at FanFest, and I have a chance to meet everyone in person again. And while writing that sentence, I realized that it sounds ironic given what happened. I want to be very clear here. Current COVID restrictions make no sense at all. So if we are all going to live in this weird world where we pretend COVID isn't a thing, then we need to get on with it. The airports and planes were full of people not wearing masks, and yet you still need a negative test to fly. This is stupid. We traveled last summer for almost 2 weeks in Iceland without any problems because everyone was wearing masks and still taking precautions. You can't have it both ways. My rant is over now. I'm exhausted just writing these words. Wanted to double check this quick. All right, we're good. So my rant is over now. Fantastic. I'll start mine, Rixx. So I agree. The most important thing here is everyone getting healthy again. Everyone recovering, getting well soon, hopefully experiencing the most mild symptoms possible, and, hopefully no one gets anything too life-threatening. Beyond that, leading up to FanFest, I had seen social media posts, some from CCP for EVE Online. Iceland has lifted restrictions, yay and rejoice. And that was my first, oh no, I think, feeling about FanFest for people planning to attend. Also, we put out there, I don't know how many people were at FanFest total, so 50 people contracting it conservatively, out of what number? I don't know. If you have the answer, feel free to put in the comments down below, as that would help me better understand scope and scale for this. But, yeah, seeing those announcements going out of like, yay, we're officially COVID-free on this, landmass, and then going, people from around the world come visit us, thinking, how did this get approved? But here we are. It happened. People got sick. I can't fathom. This is the part that perplexes me. Because there's no part of me that's like, haha, I told you so. Like, I don't want that to be the interpretation. For me, there's a sincere perplexity in what did people think was going to happen? Were there people who went to FanFest thinking, well, they don't have restrictions there anymore, therefore there's no chance I can catch COVID. There's no reasonable chance I can catch COVID. I probably won't catch COVID. It won't happen to me, or screw it, I don't care. Like, there's got to be, different levels for different people and where they fall on that scale, I would imagine. And I'm just curious what people in general thought was going to happen. If you had an opinion, if you went to FanFest and can relay that information, I would find it interesting. Again, this isn't like blame game, finger pointing, public shaming kind of nonsense. This is like a genuine curiosity to me about how people perceive information and, from my perspective, reality. What did people think was going to happen? I would find that very interesting. Let's move on to the next part of the post here. I think the reaction to what we heard at FanFest is also exhausting. I believe many players have forgotten we live and play in a sandbox. I'm encouraged by the knowledge that 60% of EVE players have started playing in the last 4 years. Maybe this new crop of players won't be so damn annoying, but for me, and for many others, this was the first FanFest I left happy with what CCP had announced, because it was finally time for faction warfare to get some attention. something I've been vocally advocating for over a decade now. And while I don't care about taking credit or any credit, all I care about is it's finally happening. And finally, those nullsec players who always get some shiny new thing every FanFest now know what us lowsec players always feel like. So pardon me if I don't have any sympathy for you for your angst. I didn't mean that to come out as spiteful as it probably sounded. I have COVID. Man, like, we've been talking about this last couple of days on stream, and it is interesting that self-proclaimed most respectful gameplay style, most important, most populated, majority of real EVE players, it's the same narrative that goes around for anything. Let's not pretend that null players are like the only ones who do this. Pretty much anyone who plays EVE Online, or video games in general, let's even zoom it out even further, always feel the need to defend aggressively their playstyle. Because if you appreciate someone else's playstyle, or someone else is exalting their own playstyle, obviously how you enjoy something is directly under attack, and you must defend it tooth and nail. And whatever reason causes that complete detachment from reality, I guess we're looping it back into the previous conversation about COVID and public gatherings. What do these people think? Like, can they hear out loud what they're saying? Does it not click for them? Is this one of those above average, below average situations? And what is it? Being stupid is like being dead. It hurts those around you, and you're the only one that doesn't realize it, kind of a thing. So yeah, I don't get it either. It's interesting because when I look at FanFest, nothing was delivered, right? And I think Rixx goes out onto that here in the article in just a moment. Nothing was delivered. The majority of the keynotes, the overwhelming majority of the keynote, was looking backward. Some of it was looking around at current time, and a tiny little sliver was talking about looking forward to the future. And to me, that was very disappointing, especially on the heels of a price increase announcement. But we've done other articles or posts and content coverage for that. We'll move on to the next section here. And Alliance logos on ships and structures, so there. I like the idea that future expansions will be revealed inside of story arcs. I think that is awesome. In fact, we are already seeing the early days of that inside the game. Will CCP be able to fully deploy massive in-game changes and updates this way? Will the promises made during FanFest translate into actual real content in-game? I don't know. I sure hope so. As always, I'm sure us players will be standing by to remind them and hold them accountable for their success and failures, as always. For my part, I am encouraged, but not totally sold. I remain positive, but I also have to admit that I was expecting something to be announced for the immediate future. Like a month? New ships maybe? New content possibly? Something. And a lot of people do. When 2 years go by without any new content, and you're told a third year is coming around without any content, and there's an expansion slated for the end of the year, and we don't know what's inside of it because knowing it would be a spoiler, that's a rough sell right after a price increase announcement. So instead we got a promise, or a lot of promise, and there was nothing wrong with that, unless they turn out to be empty. And given the recent price increase, as needed as it might have been, those promises are important to the long-term stability and growth of EVE Online. I've long said that faction warfare is the engine that drives PvP inside of EVE Online, and that message seems to finally be resonating inside the walls of CCP. Every dev I spoke with spoke that language. That is encouraging. Enough writing for one day. I'll be back more with later. Or back more later. With more later. Words are hard. So, there are parts of that I strongly agree with. Like, the presentation about, hey, we have new ideas on paper that we want to bring into the game, and we want to introduce it through faction warfare, and then the things that work, we can then apply that tech and that feature to other areas of the game as well. For whatever reason, again, people detach from reality when they don't like what they're hearing. Hey, don't go to a convention, you'll get sick. Screw you. Hey, we don't have any new content for you, pay us more money, and why are you guys so mad? Like, it works in both directions. People detach from reality within and without. The different dynamic between players and developing studio platform party members. And here in this last one, like, null bearers are mad because low sec will get it first. Faction warfare will get it first. And Rixx is right. Faction warfare has been waiting a lot of years to be taken off the back burner, where it's been neglected. knowing it's a broken system and it's finally being addressed on paper. And I'm very curious and interested to see how that pans out in reality. But all I can do right now is run my imagination of like, oh, what if they do this? What if they do that? And it could be amazing. What does that do? It's going to raise expectation. So when reality is delivered and we see what actually comes into the game and actually is released to tranquility, that expectation, no matter how much we actively try to rein it in, is still going to be there. This isn't going to be an expansion that can hit the mark from the perspective of its one expansion. Right or wrong, fair or unfair, I view this expansion as needing to deliver 3 years worth of contents in one expansion. I don't think that's realistic. But based on how people react to news and information and what we've seen, over time in general, I think that's the general consensus on people's expectations for the expansion, for those that go beyond the game into third-party platforms and discuss and converse and share, things like that. Your average player who logs in, plays some EVE Online, maybe talks to a half dozen people and logs back out, may not have that high of a bar. But your most, I don't want to say invested as in if they're entitled to more, but you're most invested in perspective of like how big EVE Online is in their life. Those are the people who are going to have that 3 years of expectation wanting to be delivered on in this one expansion. Maybe we'll find out at the end of the year. Maybe we won't. Not knowing what is or isn't in the expansion means it's easier for them to take things out at the last minute if it's not ready. So hopefully we won't see any time delays, but we'll find out then. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you all next time.